a story that you I was like, told me, I felt like you were talking to me, that really moved me. And it also, there's so much I can learn from you, David, because one of the areas that I actually struggle with, believe it or not, is vulnerability. So the story that you told about your friend David.
Oh,
Oh
God.
my gosh. That that's a lot. I would love for you to share that.
Uh, I, uh, I can, I've written it, and it's gonna go in my next book.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
uh,
When is your next book coming out?
I wish, I wish, uh, that it's been in the hands of the publishers in the midst of the pandemic, uh,
Mm.
and so I just emailed them and they said, well, we're still assessing. I think it's going to come out, but I don't know when. It's just all kerfuffle.
Do you have the
Hey,
title for it already?
the book? Yeah, I the working title, Standing at the Back Door of Happiness.
Oh, oh.
Nice, huh?
Yeah.
I give good title.
Yeah.
You do.
And I'm not mad at these glasses, David.
I
I
was
got
just
to
gonna
tell
say,
you.
I like it.
With the pink arms. Come on, bring it.
Dollar store, dollar store, a dollar a
Really?
pen.
You wear
Yeah,
them like Chanel.
thank you. Okay, so this is going to take a few minutes, but
Sure.
Okay.
it has a lot. I don't understand why I didn't understand. I understand now, I think. Or you might say I understand somewhat better, but back then, not so. David should have been dead. I thought it was a death watch down in LA. That's why I was there. He had no muscle mass left. His insides, he couldn't eat anything but jello. For a couple months or more, he had a huge diaper, but there was nothing left to shit. It was just there to catch blood. His mouth was filled with thrush, all white and dry. When he talked, every word meant something. You really listened. I love David. We were opposite in many ways. Me, small with a facial difference, lots of emotional armor, good Catholic boy. My nickname, Tidy Boy. David, tall, heavy, a bear, handsome, gay, adventurous. He loved to cook. Once he put oregano in the creme brulee. He roamed San Francisco in the 1970s, roamed the city hard. He loved going to the rich street baths where he spent evenings strapped into a harness, face down, naked with his legs apart, exposed to the open door of the cubicle where men would wander in and suck him in the ass. I was drawn to his vibrant charm, his giggle, his capacity for intimacy. He would come up behind me, reach around and play with my nipples. I trusted him. I liked it. That was good practice for emotional openness and a sense of adventure. Now he was dying in West Hollywood. He had a lover, Bob, a TV producer of shows like 9 to 5 and Mr. Belvedere. After they got serious, David began nesting and his tastes changed from opera to the Golden Girls. He had an autograph photo of Estelle Getty on his dresser. He became a Dodger fan because Bob loved baseball. David had AIDS and as he began to slip, I began flying down to LA on weekends whenever I could to help out. I wanted to help, but I was so afraid. I did not even know how afraid I was. I had recently quit drinking, and the decades long practice of dissolving my emotions in alcohol was no longer available. I was afraid of what I saw when I stood in the doorway of his Westwood apartment and looked at him on the daybed. No more burly, no more flesh, bone, one leg drawn up, the femur almost devoid of flesh, like something from a Francis Bacon portrait, like he had just pulled it away from piranhas. The whole image of him that had existed in my mind, gone, like it had been photoshopped away. His diaper, huge, the biggest I had ever seen, like something you would see in a cartoon. All dome and diaper until he opened his eyes, and they were unchanged, still warm and brown and deep. I was afraid of the smell. The diaper, yes, for sure. Worse, the metallic reek of medication on his breath. Worst of all, the aroma of necrotic tissue, of wasted flesh, of David's death, a 90% done deal. His GI tract dying out his asshole. Death breath rising from his body. Death soaked into everything, the walls, the carpet, the drapes, covering the dishes, enduring all fabrics. Every Sunday night I carried that smell with me to the airport, onto the plane, back to San Francisco. The sounds, every breath, a choice, could be his last choice. Dry, raspy, thrushy sounds, or wet gurgles, any and every breath, challenged and precious. My hands on David felt no flesh. They went from skin to bone. Some parts of him were cold and damp, some hot and damp, some hot and dry. Some felt festering beneath the skin, some chilling toward death. What I tasted when I kissed his forehead was nothing I ever tasted before. And yet, the fear, overwhelmed by amazement that he was still alive. Every day for months he could be dead that night, but he was not. And how was it that he was so beautiful? Everything he had left was in his eyes and heart. In my fear, I wanted to know the rules. I wanted to help. Hi, David, what do you need? Just tell me anything. What should I do? I know, Jello. I'll make Jello. We'll have Jello. Lemon lime or black cherry. Which? Just be here. But there's Cool Whip. Just be here.
Hmm.
Shut the fuck up, I thought. Eat the fucking Jello. Pass the time away until you die. You're supposed to die. Somebody said so. That's the rule. That's the procedure. That's the protocol. All he had was presence. All he had was love. All he had was touch. All he wanted was touch. All he wanted was love. All he wanted was presence. Ignore the body. See the soul. No choice. I had no choice. I could not find any other rules that applied. The moment of change, when I opened the Jello, the black cherry Jello, and it smelled worse than death, and it made me sick. I preferred the smell of death, more real. I didn't understand what was going on. I loved the way he died. He glowed into death. He rotted and glowed. His body rotted, his soul glowed. His soul grew and filled the room. He was getting his soul ready. We bathed in his soul. I thought he was not in touch with his needs or was too shy to say what he really wanted. Or, worst of all, perhaps he had the AIDS dementia we had read about. It took me weeks to understand that he knew exactly what he needed. He wanted my full presence. I learned to shut up. Then we could sit for hours saying nothing at all. We listened to music that he loved, the Mass in D minor, Marvin Gaye, and Otto, of course. Gaye, dying of AIDS, let's put Bel D on repeat. By then, David wasn't talking much anyway. One thing he did say every day, and for no apparent reason, was, good for you, good for you. It was a Sunday evening. We were on the couch together. My suitcase was packed and near the door. I was ready to leave to San Francisco and work the next morning. David's head was on my lap. I had been stroking his forehead, and my hand rested there. His eyes were closed. Occasionally pain broke through the drugs and made him twitch and gasp. David was silent. I thought he was asleep. Then I felt his body slowly gathering energy. He snapped his lips, trying to bring moisture to his mouth. He opened his eyes and stared at the far wall for a very long moment. He turned his face up toward me. Could you stay for the rest of the week? I drew my hand away and started to explain why that could not possibly happen. I decided. I stopped. I was flooded with the knowledge that I did want to just be there. That was a moment of grace for me. I didn't make a choice. It was given to me. A moment of absolute clarity when love took priority. David had pulled me into that moment. I said, yes. David took my hand back, kissed the palm, held it to his heart, and said, good for you. He closed his eyes and turned away, breathing deeply. As he dozed off again, I felt his heart slowing in my hand. That was the last week of David's life. That moment of grace he gave me changed my life. I understood. He wanted music, he wanted touch. Most of all, he lived for love. It was not a death watch. It was a love watch. I wasn't fired. My co-workers at the city and county of San Francisco told me to take whatever time I needed. So I could stand there at Grayside and watch the jacaranda blossoms drift into his grave and get covered with dirt. The end. Oh, my friends, that's my favorite story I've ever written. No, it's one of the 3 favorite. Because that says it all for me. Huh? Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for sharing it.
This is so. Oh,
It's incredibly moving. Like, I love the part. This was not a death watch. This was a love watch.